पञ्चप्रेतासनासीना पञ्चब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी चिन्मयी परमानन्दा विज्ञानघनरूपिणी ध्यानध्यातृध्येयरूपा धर्माधर्मविवर्जिता विश्वरूपा जागरिणी स्वपन्ती तैजसात्मिका सुप्ता प्राज्ञात्मिका तुर्या सर्वावस्था विवर्जिता सृष्टिकर्त्री ब्रह्मरूपा गोप्त्री गोविन्दरूपिणी.
Seated on the seat formed of 5 corpses, Pancha Preta Sanashina, the 5 Brahma, etc., when deprived of their respective Shaktis, such as Vama, etc., are incapable of action. Hence, deprived of their power, they become corpses, seated, couch, formed by these 5. The Jnana Narnava says, O great Ishana, tell me of the 5 corpses and their cause. How are they imperishable and eternal and yet lifeless? Thus questioned by Devi, the Lord said, You have fitly questioned me, O beneficent one, as to the seat formed of 5 corpses Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishvara, and Sadashiva. These noble yet motionless. The activity of Brahma, manifested as creation, should be known as Vama Shakti. Devoid of it, Brahma is certainly a corpse. Shiva in himself has no activity, wherefore activity belongs to Shakti, pure. Sadashiva becomes a motionless corpse. O dear one, without Shakti, O Devi, he is incapable of doing anything. The 5 Brahmanas are here formed. The 5 begin with Brahma and end with Sadashiva. These include under Brahman, because the Tripura Siddhanta says the unconditioned Brahman by the play of the Maya in itself becomes Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishvara, and Sadashiva. Thus, by name, only Brahman is in 5 forms, or the 5 Brahmas are Ishana, Tatpurusha, Aghora, Vamadeva, and Sadyojata. The Linga Purana says, Jiva Prakriti, Buddhi, Ahamkara, and Manas, the senses, namely ear, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose, and the subtle elements are the forms of the 5 Brahman. It is described in the same book. The above 5 subtle elements are the causes creating 5 gross elements. These are her forms. Pure becomes 5 by his own Shakti, becomes 5, that is by the Shaktis of creation, preservation, etc. He becomes Sadyojata, etc. The Garuda Purana also says, Vishnu, who confers blessings on the world and destroys all the wicked, although one becomes 5, namely Vasudeva, Shankarashana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Narayana. Acharya also says, when you sport as a man, you become the 5 persons. Your casual talk becomes the 3 Vedas. O mother, a glance of your eyes becomes the sun, and your sweet smile the moon. Consciousness itself, Chinmayi, supreme bliss, Paramananda. The Shruti, Chandogya Upanishad, Part 7, verse 23. What is infinite, that is happiness, consisting of permanent intelligence, Vijnana Ghana Rupini. Vijnana means Chaitanya, Ghana, one essence, that is, one essence of consciousness. Thus, in the Shruti, Brahmanda Upanishad, Part 2, verses 4 to 12, the word Vijnana Ghana is explained, or Vijnana Jiva, because in the Shruti, Brahmanda Upanishad, Part 3, verse 4, says remaining in Vijnana is explained as Jiva, Ghana, mass, that is aggregate of Jivas. Hiranyagarbha is the synthesis of the aggregate of the Jivas, where in Shruti the word Jiva Ghana occurs. It is explained thus: She is meditation, meditator, and the object of meditation. Dhyanadhyatre dhyeya rupa, the root dhye, to think, also called measurement, mana, as explained in the Yoga Sutra, part 3, verse 2. Contemplation is unition there of the understanding, that is, she is the triad of the knowledge, of the knower, and of the object of the knowledge, devoid of virtue and vice. Dharma dharma vivarjita, virtue and vice, actions leading to desirable and undesirable results. It is said in the Matsya Purana, dharma comes from the root dharma, dhar, and ma in greatness. So as it is a great one, it is called dharma. Thus, the bears, and as it is the great one, it is therefore called dharma. The word dharma is explained, that which leads to a desirable result and taught by teachers as dharma, and adharma is opposite of this. The Samvarta Smriti says that conduct which prevails in each country in accordance with tradition, not contrary to the scriptures, is called dharma. The Yajnavalkya, part 1, verse 8 also says, among the following actions: sacrifice, good conduct, self control, non injury, gift, and sacred study, the supreme dharma is that in which one perceives self by yoga. Jaimini also, Sutra, part 1, verse 2. Dharma is the purpose as characterized by the spiritual injunctions. Adharma is to be understood as the opposite. Devi is free from these two because the scriptures are meant only for the ignorant, and the Devas are not subject to them according to the rules applicable to the animal creation. Or dharma, bondage, and adharma, liberation, because these words are explained thus in a verse of Nitya Hridaya. She is free from these. The Tripura Upanishad says, no end, no origin, no bondage, no aspirant, no desire of liberation, no liberation, that is the truth. Or dharma, thing which possesses quality, and adharma is the quality itself. She neither possesses the quality nor is she the quality itself. That is, she is absolutely inseparable from the universe. Or dharma indicates the letter of Shakti, and adharma that of Shiva, Vivarchita, great increase. The meaning is that Devi is the tendril of Panchadashi, Vidya. The two letters of Shakti and Shiva are explained in the Nitya Hridaya and should be learnt from the teacher, and we have explained them in our Varivasya Rahasya, omnipresent Vishwarupa, by 19 names indicating difference between Jiva and Ishvara. The text proceeds to praise Devi under both forms. In the order of creation, the first manifestation is darkness, tamas, the next is that of mahat, then that of threefold egotism, ahamkara. Next, the five subtle elements, beginning with the sound. Among these are the five energies of knowledge, jnana, and the five energies of action, kriya. In these energies, the former five individually generate the five senses, jnanendriyas, and collectively the antahkarna. The latter five generate individually the five organs of action, and collectively the pranas. The sound and the others, four subtle forces, generate the five gross elements. This is an established doctrine. There, the Chaitanya manifested through the gross, subtle, and casual vehicles, respectively, termed Vishwa, Tejasa, and Prajna. These manifested ones, three groups of vehicles, respectively, are termed Vaishwanara, Hiranyagarbha, and Ishvara. The Supreme Being, Paramatman, manifested in Antakarana in its casual form is Hiranyagarbha, in Prana in its casual form, in Sutratman when manifested through these two vehicles without differentiation, in Antaryamin. These three alone are termed respectively Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. We have here explained the three divisions, namely the individual Jiva, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna, the collective Jiva, Vaishwanara, Hiranyagarbha, and Sutratman, and Paramatman, according to the opinion of those who follow the Upanishads. In this theory, they accept only three states, namely walking, dreaming, and sleeping, and the three functions, namely creation, preservation, and destruction. In the Tantrika theory, the followers of it accept in addition two more states, namely ecstatic, turiya, and the state beyond ecstasy, and the two functions, namely tirodhana and anugraha. For meaning of these two names, refer pages 270 and 273 of Varivasya Rahasya. Those beings endowed with these two states, that is, fourth and the one beyond it, and their functions, namely Jiva and Ishvara, respectively, should also be added. Thus, there are five divisions. Here, there is no contradictory theory as between those who hold that there are three or five causes of creation, because this system proceeds from the distinction between the gross and the subtle aspects. Since in the sleeping state, the prajna, Jiva is in that state called so, becomes Brahman. He is no longer Jiva, but the Jiva is then not the Supreme One, Paramatman, because it is associated with a trace of avidya. Hence, because the vehicle of Jiva is in the sleeping state, is Karana, the vehicle of Jiva is in the fourth is declared to be Mahakarana. Beyond that, that is in the fifth state, as the Shiva Sutra, part 3, verse 26 says, one above it becomes equal to Shiva. That is semi equal to Shiva. Beyond that, as the Shruti Mundokya Upanishad, part 3, verse 1 says, the spotless one attains the highest equality. Here, the meaning of highest equality is unity. From this explanation, it follows that owing to the absence in those two states, fourth and fifth, of full perfection of Jiva or of Shiva, they are not separately enumerated by the followers of the Upanishads. Similarly, the same reason is given for not taking into account the state of swoon in that work. Vedanta Sutra, Part 3, verse 2. In him who is unconscious, in a swoon, etc., there is a half union on account of this remaining. The five vehicles of Jiva may be recognized as the five sheaths, koshas, the Trirodhana and Anugraha, functions of Ishvara and Sadashiva, are otherwise called the producers of bondage and release. These two states beyond Rudra, fourth and fifth, are not wrongly stated, since they are supported by Shaiva scriptures. Ishvara, the visible one, Bahurumesha, may mean manifested clearly, and Sadashiva is momentary, Nimshontah, unmanifested or partly manifested. Vishwarupa, Vishwa, the Jivas in the walking state manifested through the gross elements, and Vishwanara is he who is the aggregate of the Jivas, Rupa, form, that is, these two are her forms, or by the preceding name, number 255, is meant that she is inseparable from the universe. Hence, this name expresses that Devi is in the form Rupa of the universe, Vishwa. The meaning is that her form is the universe itself, and she has no other form except this as the supporter of the universe. The Vishnu Purana says, just as the plantain tree cannot be seen independently of bark and leaves, likewise, the universe, O Lord, is seen depending on you only. The Devi Bhagavata Purana also in the first book mentions, I myself am the universe and there is no other permanency or we separate Swarupa, a dog's form. The evolution of human being, Jiva Bhava, of Brahman, directly is the lowest kind of form, comparable to that of a dog. So, inferior service is called Swavriti, dog service. See Manusmriti. The lower human existence, Pashu Bhava, is called Swarupa, a dog's form of the devotees. We, released by means of Devi's grace, or Tripurasundari, has 16 parts. Of this, there is no doubt. This is explained in the Vasana Subhogaya. There are 15 parts, kalas, from the Darsha to Purnima, the names of the days of bright fortnights. The 16th part is to be known as existence, knowledge, bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. In the moon's disk, there is one kala, the 16th, called Shada, eternal, devoid of growth or decay. The other 15 are moving to and fro, that is, waxing and waning. Though Devi is not separate from any of them, the kala called Chit, the 16th, is termed Tripurasundari. The others are termed respectively from Kameshwari to Chitra, according to the days of the fortnights. In the Panchadashi mantra, also which is inseparable from these, there is one syllable which is to be known from the teacher, which is of the form Chit, and by reason of its being contained in the Panchadashi, is known as Sri Vidya. The 15 syllables known to all the devotees are of the form of Nityas. Thus, the moon's disk, Devi, and the 15 syllabled mantra are one. The 15 syllables belonging to the 15 kalas also become one. Hence, there are three divisions of 15 days and of 15 syllables as the three divisions kutas of days, namely Nanda, Bhadra, Jaya, Rikta, and Purna, corresponding to Vagbhava group of the Panchadashi mantra. Hence, the followers of Taittiriya Sakha repeat the names of the nights of the bright fortnight in three divisions. The Shruti Taittiriya Brahmanda, part 3, verse 10, says Darsha, Drishta, Darshata, Vishwarupa, and Sudarshana, Pyayamana, Apyayamana, Pyaya, Shundrata, Aira, Apuryamana, Puryamana, Puryanti, Purna, and Purnamashi. Thus, they repeat the names of the days of the bright fortnight, also three divisions. The Shruti Taittiriya Brahmandam, part 3, verse 10, Sangyana, Vijnana, Pragyana, Jnanat, and Abhijnanat, Sankalpamana, Prakalpamana, Upalkalpamana, Upakalpta, and Kalpta, Ansheyas, Vishiyas, Ayat, Sambhuta, Bhuta. The Shruti verifies the explanation of day and night of the bright fortnight of these two sections, Anuvukas, above quoted. The Shruti says these two sections, Samgyana and Vijnana, and Darsha and Drishta, are the names of the days and nights of the bright fortnights. Though the three divisions are here proportionally equally, that is 5 in each, yet when the 10th day is merged into the 11th, the latter is treated as a part of the 10th. As it is said, the pure 12th day is to be observed intact. Consequently, the 12th day takes the 11th. So, in the mantra of the Panchadashi, The second division is composed of 6 letters, whereas the last one has 4 letters. But as others, seers, make no such exception, Veda, in other mantras of Surya and others of Panchadashi, the 3 divisions are equally proportioned. With this idea, Lola says in his commentary on the Subha Yoga, though the kala called Apuryamana, 11th one, which belongs to the last group, Chandrakanda, that is Agni, Surya, and Chandra, are respectively the deities of the 3 divisions of the mantra. Yet, it is included in the second division, Surya Kanda, and it should be taken that the Kalas, Aira, and Apuryamana, 10th and 11th, are one and the same, as the latter is a part of the former, as to the 15 deities of days and nights, and the manners of worship, as well as the use to the letters for the 15-syllable mantra, and as the application to Shiva, Shakti, Maya, Shuddha Vidya, etc. According to Samaya and Kaula schools, these practiced should be learnt from the Chandrakala, Tantra, so as there is no distinction between the syllables, the days, deities, etc. So the word Vishwa, though it indicates the fourth night of the bright fortnight, also means the fourth syllable of the first deviation, called Vagbhavakuta, for the mantra and the tattva of Suddha Shivitya, that is, Devi is inseparable from these three, the fourth night, the fourth syllable, and Shuddha Vidya, or Vishwarupa in the neuter gender, means the fifth day of the dark fortnight. The Shruti, Taittiriya Brahmanda, part 3, verse 12 says, Prastuta, Vishtuta, Samstuta, Kalyana, and Vishwarupa, Shukra, Amrita, Tejaswin, Trijas, and Samiddha, and Aruna, Bhanumat, Marichimat, Abhitapat, Tapasvat. The nights of the same are Suta, Shunvati, Prashuta, Suyamana, Abhisuryamana, Preeti, Prapa, Sampa, Tripti, Taprayanti, Kanta, Kamya, Kamajata, Ayushmati, and Kamadugha. The Prastuta, Vistuta, the Sutta, Sunvati. These 2 sections are the names of the days and nights of the dark fortnight. The meaning is Devi is manifested in the form of all the deities of the nights and of the days of bright and dark fortnights. Hence, one who knows them acquires special merits. So the Shruti declares. The Shruti also says, one who knows the deities who produce honey and saturate the body with it. In him is produced honey from the Baindava. His sacrifices and good works become effective. To him who is ignorant, they produce no honey, and his sacrifices and good works become ineffective. Produce honey, the deities of the night, and saturate the body with it. Those of the days, further Shruti says, those nights of the bright and dark fortnights are the producers of honey, Madhukrit. Their days cause it to flow, Madhuvarshini, sacrifices and good works, devotional work. When the place of Dakini and other deities is saturated by the waking up of Kundalini, by causing the honey to flow in Sahasrara, whatever works he does become ineffective. External actions such as sacrifice, etc., become fruitful. In the absence of that flow in which the actions are performed, that time is productive of death of these actions, that is, they become ineffective. This is explained in the Chandrajnana Trai of those who are able to produce the flow of honey in the Baindava and whose bodies are cool by the nectar. The sacrifices and good works become fruitful in course of time of those who are devoid of the inner flow and whose minds continue scorched. Death at once terminates all their actions. The consumer of time, Devi, produces honey and causes it to flow. To him who knows comes the flow of nectar from the Brahmarandra. Vaidehi, Sri Vidya belonging to Vaideha, Manmatha, who is Saragha, literally meaning bee, and who is the destroyer of time, has created through the days and nights of deities of bright and dark fortnights. This Vidya indicated by the 15 syllables. Kalakarshini, the destroyer of time, is the name of a deity, one who knows the distinction, namely that between Madhukrit as the night deities and the Madhuvarshini as those of the day. Vaidehi, the wife of Vaideha, Kamesha. This Vidya, Panchadashi, Shruti, says the founder Vaideha composed the weeks of the day and night of deities by 15 syllables of the mantra. Saragha, honeybees. Devi is also called as a bee because she produces honey. The Shruti says she, Devi, is a bee. Fire is the honey. Waking state, Jagarini. It is explained, Ishvara Pratyabhigna. The waking state, dear to all, is the source of an internal action through the inactivity of the senses. The Jiva is called Jagari, that is, who takes upon himself the gross body called Vishwa. Dreaming state, Swapanti. The explanation of the dreaming state is also given in the Pratyabhigna. The state of Swapna is objectifying of those visions which are perceived in the mind due to the perception of ideas latent in the mind. Jiva, in the state of Swapna, is termed Taijasa. Its individuality is merged in the subtle body. She is Taijasa itself, Taijasatmika. Taijasa, called Hiranyagarbha, who is the collective form of the Jivas described above. State of sleep, Supta. The description of it is given in the Shiva Sutra. The state of sleep is incapacity of discrimination, namely illusion. One says, I slept happily, I know nothing. Thus, one says from recollection. By this saying, three modifications of avidya are indicated, namely ignorance, egoism, and happiness. Sound sleep is that state in which these three exist. Such a person is termed prajna, whose individuality is merged in the causal body. Prajna himself, prajnatmika. Prajna, Ishvara, who is the collective form of the jivas above described. State of ecstasy, Turya. Turya state is the state in which the experience called Shuddha Vidya is acquired and the result of the discrimination of these lower three states and enjoyers thereof. The Spanda Shastra says, he who perceives the object of attainment in the three abodes and the subject thereof, though he participates in it, yet remains unpolluted. Varadaraja also says, Turya is the supreme abode. The participation in that state produces astonishment, though there are different states, namely walking and others. This only is realistic for the yogin. The Shiva Sutra, part 1, verse 7 also says, though there are different states, namely walking, dreaming, and sleeping, real enjoyment exists only in the fourth one. Ecstasy in the fourth state should be allowed like oil to permeate the other three. The jiva is called he who is merged in the other three. The great causal body, Mahakarana. Devi is called Turya because she is both the individual and the collective form of the state. This means of attaining the state of Turya is set forth by a Shiva Sutra, part 1, verse 15. He should project his mind by means of his own thought. The commentary on this is as follows: abandoning pranayama and other uncertain gross means by his own thought, by his own knowledge, by the internal experience of astonishment, that is, by the aid of turiya, extinguishing the notion of body, etc., in consequence of merging himself into the fourth state. This should he enter, or turiya, is a deity according to the Shakti Rahasya as described in the Shruti. They consider the fourth calmness non-dual Acharya, though Turiya, unlimited mystery, difficult of attainment. The Tripura Siddhanta says, O fair-faced one, as she is a pleasure to Turiya Nandanatha, a certain teacher, Devi is known by the name Turiya. 14th verse divides 40 names. Transcending all states, Sarvavastha Vivarjita. There is a fifth state of Jivas, but as it is no special name, and as it is beyond the Turiya state, it is simply called beyond Turiya. This name indicates the fifth state, all the states, that is those described above, because where a man transcends the fourth state, he necessarily transcends the other three. Vivarjita, transcending. V, entirely, that is, one does not return to the other states. This state also has two aspects, the individual and the collective. This fifth state arises from the firmness in the fourth one, Turiya, for it is said, the supreme state which is beyond the Turiya is only to be attained through a firm hold on the Turiya. Varadaraja, the commentary also states, the aspirant, by much familiarity with the fourth state, attains the state which transcends the fourth one and becomes equal to Shiva, who is the soul of the universe and who is pure absolute bliss. There are 3 sutras in the Shiva Sutras, part 3, verse 27, 28 and 29, describing the nature of the man who has attained the fifth state. His physical life is a religious observance, his conversation is a japa, his giving is knowledge of the self. His physical life is religious and not worldly, literally meaning trifling, because it is the means of worshipping Shiva by searching into his own soul. So Bhattotpala desires physical life in these words. Let me have this body invigorated by the nectar of pure Shakti manifested in me for the sake of worshipping thee. His random conversation is japa because his mind has grasped the truth. It is explained by the 2 sutras, Yoga Sutra, part 1, verses 47 and 48. In the purity of the non-deliberative condition, his soul becomes pleased. In that condition, knowledge becomes the truth supporting. Ritrambra, as the Shruti says, whatever one thinks in his mind, that alone he speaks. All his words are in the form of mantras because his thoughts are pure. The Yoga Vasishtha says the wise should always be approached, whether they instruct or not, because their ordinary conversation becomes instruction, gift, or giving. Krishnadasa says the direct experience of Atman, described above as consciousness, Chaitanya itself, is the knowledge which is his gift and which, with promptness, he freely gives. Acharya, Saundarya Lahari, verse 27. Considering the 3 sutras are to be explained as above, says the random talk is japa, his bodily actions are the mudras, etc. The Vartika explains, thus one performing the vow herein described and repeating mantras and maintaining his physical existence equal to Shiva, always being in his own Atman, devoted to the adoration of Shiva alone, he is called the great Yogin, devoted to the practice of the mighty mantras and he imparts real knowledge to his disciples. Creator, Srishtikarti. Thus, after the description of the 5 divisions of jivas who are controlled by avidya, he proceeds according to different functions to describe the 5 divisions of Ishvara who controls Maya. Acharya also explains the same in the verse Saundarya Lahari, verse 24. Brahma creates the world, etc. Creation is the function of Ishvara when the Rajas quality predominates. In the form of Brahma, Brahmarupa, Brahma, the four-faced one, the Vishnu Purana says, O Brahmana, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are the chief Shaktis of Brahman, protector, Goptri, sustaining the universe. This is the function of Ishvara when the Sattva quality predominates. In the form of Govinda, Govinda Rupini, in the Harivamsha, Narada says, the first portion of Prakriti, the famous Devi called Uma, the second one. The manifested Vishnu, the all-pervading protector of the universe, is known as woman. Concerning the word Govinda, Vishnu Bhagavata Purana says, I am the Lord, Indra of the Devas, though has attained to the lordship over the cows. Hence, in the world men praise thee by the name Govinda. The Bharata in Moksha Dharma also says, as I recovered the earth which was taken away and rendered inaccessible, I am praised by Devas and by words under the name of Govinda. Harivamsha says, the Go stands for the sound which you alone know with, hence you are all called Govinda by ascetics, or Govinda, Brihaspati, the Guru of the Devas. According to the Vishwaprakasha, Govinda means Vasudeva, cowherd and Brihaspati.
संहारिणी रुद्ररूपा तिरोधानकरीश्वरी सदाशिवानुग्रहदा पञ्चकृत्यपरायणा.
Destroyer, Samharini, Samhara, reducing the universe into atoms. This is the function of Ishvara when the tamas quality predominates. In the form of Rudra, Rudrarupa, Rudra is the above mentioned Ishvara or Rudra who drives away sorrow or weep, Roditi, because the rain which comes at the dissolution of the universe originates from his solar eye in the form of tears. The Shruti says, he wept because he wept. He is also called the weeper, Rudra. The Shivarahasya also says, the rod of Pashus, Jivas, is called Rudra because he drives away sorrow. Or, according to Upanishad, part 3, verse 16, the pranas, senses, are the Rudras. These cause all this body to cry out. The Bharata says, to please his parent, the son of Brahma, the eternal Lord of the universe, springing from his forehead, wept loudly and terribly. The Vaiva Samhita says, Ru means pain, or the cause of pain. He who drives this out, Dra. Shiva, the supreme cause, is called Rudra, causing the disappearance. Tirodhanakari. Tirodhana, complete destruction, that is, the absorption even of the atoms into Prakriti, like the extinction of a light. This is the function of Ishvara when the pure concentrated sattva quality predominates, or she is in the form of a Shakti called Tiraskarini. The Tripura Siddhanta says, because you cause the disappearance of all who are not devotees, rightly, O fair-faced one, you are called Tishkarini, ruler, Ishwari. The previously mentioned one, Ishvara, is here used in the special sense just as Maya is used in the different sense. The supreme individuality, Paramahamsa, is the quality of Ishvara. This is explained in the Virupaksha Panchashaki in the Vishwarira chapter. Lordship, activity, independence, consciousness itself. These are said by wise men as the successive aspects of the supreme individuality. Sadashiva, when the superlative sattva quality predominates, she is so called, conferrer of blessing, anugrahada, anugraha, when after complete annihilation the universe again assumes the form of the primordial atoms. The process is called anugraha. This is the function of Sadashiva or Tirodhana and Anugraha mean respectively bondage and release. In this meaning, Ishvara and Sadashiva, who are respectively the external and internal manifestations, are the causes of bondage and release. Devoted to five functions, Panchakritya Parayana. According to the Vishwa, Parayana means fond of, devoted to, and dependent. The Mrigendra Samhita says that Brahman is the one caused of the origin, preservation, destruction, and annihilation of the universe, and of the order of the existence of elements and beings. The other Agamas also say the five functions of him are the creation, preservation, destruction, annihilation, and causing the reappearance of the universe, which manifests incessantly. The Devi Bhagavata Purana, Part 4, says she creates the universe, she protects, she destroys. What she protects at the end of the cycle, she, it is who in her three forms bewilders the universe. Brahma, united with her, creates the universe. Vishnu, united with her, protects. Rudra, united with her, destroys. She binds the whole universe and holds bewildered by the noose of illusion, O king, by the firm noose of I and mine. Yogins released from worldly attachments, desiring liberation and seeking after emancipation, worship the beneficent Devi alone, the ruler of the universe. Acharya also says Brahma creates the universe, etc. The Shakti Sutras also says, thus, like that, she exercises the five functions. The next sutra describes their characteristics, namely illumination, creation, affection, preservation, dissatisfaction, destruction, planting the seed, causing reappearance, and lamentation, annihilation. The reader is referred to the Pratyabhijnana Hridaya for their meaning. Abiding in the midst of the sun's disk, Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha, in the Samdhya time, Devi should be meditated upon. That the Vedanta Sutra, Part 1, verse 1 to 20, explains. The Shruti, Chandogya Upanishad, Part 1, verse 6, the golden man seen within the sun, etc., as the Supreme Lord. The Kurma Purana, in the hymns composed to Devi by Himavan, says, I bow down to the form which is in the sun's disk, Bhu, is all the Vedas, the one object of knowledge, who fills the different worlds with his brilliance, the cause of the other three worlds, known as the Supreme Lord, or Bhanu Mandala in the Anahata lotus, Bhairava, 12 years girl form. Wife of Bhairava is Bhairavi, Paramashiva, or Bhairava. All women taken collectively. Bhiru, woman. The Linga Purana says, meaning is Shiva. Words are Devi. Day is Shiva and night is Devi. From that, after describing Arundhati, Anasuya, Sachi, the wife of Indra, etc., each as the manifestations of Devi, thus concludes all things indicated by the words in the feminine gender are manifestations of Devi, or in the Tripurachka.
भानुमण्डलमध्यस्था भैरवी भगमालिनी पद्मासना भगवती पद्मनाभसहोदरी उन्मेषनिमिषोत्पन्ना विपन्नभुवनावलिः सहस्रशीर्षवदना सहस्राक्षी सहस्रपात् आब्रह्मकीटजननी वर्णाश्रमविधायिनी निजाज्ञारूपनिगमा पुण्या पुण्यफलप्रदा श्रुतिसीमन्तसिन्धूरीकृतपादाब्जधूलिका सकलागमसन्दोह शुक्तिसम्पुटमौक्तिका
Abiding in the midst of the sun's disk, Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha. In the Sandhya time, Devi should be meditated upon. That the Vedanta Sutra, part 1, explains the Shruti, the golden man seen within the sun, etc., as the Supreme Lord. The Kurma Purana, in the hymns composed to Devi by the Himavan, says, I bow down to the form which is in the sun's disk, who is all the Vedas, the one object of knowledge, who fills the different worlds with his brilliance, the cause of the three worlds, known as the Supreme Lord. Or Bhanu Mandala is the Anahata lotus, Bhairavi, 12 years girl form, wife of Bhairava, that is Paramashiva, or Bhairava, all women taken collectively, Bhiru, woman. The Linga Purana says, the meaning is Shiva, words are Devi, day is Shiva and night is Devi. From that, after describing Arundhati, Anasuya, Sachi, the wife of Indra, etc., each as the manifestations of Devi, thus concludes all things indicated by the words in the feminine gender are manifestations of Devi, or in Tripurachakeshwari mantra, in the middle division, when R is eliminated, it is known as Bhairavi mantra, or according to the Dhaumya, a girl of 12 years old is called Bhairavi, wearing the garland of prosperity, Bhagamalini. Bhaga means 6 attributes, refer for the meaning to number 279, and Malini, possessor, or she is a female emblem, Bhaga. Thus, the Linga Purana and Devi Bhagavata Puranas describe those who have the male emblem are the manifestations of Shiva, and those having the female emblem are the manifestations of Devi, or Bhagamalini is one of the 15 Nitya deities. In this mantra, the word Bhaga occurs more frequently, according to the school of Dakshinamurti, than to those of Tantraraja and Jnanarnava. The names of the surrounding deities, Avarna Devatas, of that mantra also are preceded mostly by the word Bhaga. Hence, she has the garland, Mala, of Bhaga words. Seated on the lotus, Padmasana, the wife of Brahma, or Padma, lotus, of it. The leaves are Prakritis, the filaments are the categories, the stalk is knowledge, etc. Such is her seat, or Padma, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, Sana, distributing. The great men have said, O beneficent mother, in whom thou art pleased, that man receives prosperity, containing of the enjoyment of supreme bliss. His house becomes beautiful and contains much gold, and sitting on his couch, he fondles his wife, and when thou art angry, that man becomes supremely miserable. His house appears without beauty, and in it there is much lamentation, and his couch becomes deserted. Or Padma, the Daitya Sura Padma, as to kill, that is, the slayer of the Daitya, Padmasura. Or Padma, the Daitya Sura Padma, the Bindu, etc. The Rabhasa says Padma means lotus, numbers called Vyuha, Nidhi, and Bindu. They should be applied in this sense. Bhagavati, the Puranas say, the full supremacy, righteousness, fame, prosperity, wisdom, discrimination. These six are called Miti, Bhaga. The Kosha says Bhaga means supremacy, magnanimity, wisdom, dispassion, warmth, fame, power, effort, desire, righteousness, prosperity, and worldly concerns. These are in Devi. The Devi Bhagavata Purana says, as she knows the origin and dissolution, the going and coming of beings, knowledge and ignorance, she is called Bhagavati. The Shakti Rahasya says, the word Bhaga is derived from the root Bhaj, to worship. She who is worshipped by all Devas, and she blesses them, hence she is called Bhagavati, sister of Vishnu. Padmanabha Sahodari. The one Brahman assumed two forms, namely attributes, dharma, and the possessor of them. Again, attributes become two, namely male and female. The male is Vishnu, who is the material cause of the whole universe. The female became the spouse of Paramashiva. The secret of the Shaiva theory is that these three in combination become the one indivisible Brahman. This theory is well mentioned in the Kurma and other Puranas and is explained in detail in the Ratnatraya Pariksha by Appaya Dikshita. The Brahmanda Purana in the Purushottama Kshetra Mahatmya says Subhadra, who was born from the womb of Menaka in a former birth, in this birth was born along with Krishna of Devaki. Let there be victory to Vishnu, the husband of Subhadra. There, Subhadra is Lakshmi, and there is no contradiction, or in reality, there is no difference. In another place, Brahma, the grandsire of all the worlds, in order to see Devi, once performed a severe penance, and the sacred Kanchi, Tripura, standing on a lotus, having a lotus in her hand, with her victorious brother, appeared to the ascetic, performing the severe penance, fixed in the meditation on higher self. Or, this contains the Vagbhava, first division of Kadi Vidya, Panchadashi. Padmasana indicates the syllable Ka, Bhaga, E, and Vati. Kamakala, Padmanabha, Sa, and Hoda, Ha, and and Re make Hreem. This is the secret meaning. A series of worlds arise and disappear with the opening and shutting of her eyes. Since the eyes of Devi never close, the expression opening and shutting refer to the influence of the destiny of beings or to her mere wish. The Ajnavatara says, by her mere wish, the whole universe appears and disappears. The creation of the Supreme is simply the expression of his wish. The Kalidasa says, the universe consisting of the seer, the seen, and the seeing, with all its parts, existed in you before you even thought of creation. At the manifestation of the universe, at your will, your eyes open. At the destruction of the universe, at your will, your eyes shut, says Gorakshanatha in his Mahartha Manjari says, the moment occupied by the highest teacher in the creation is same as that occupied in the destruction of the universe. Thousand-headed and thousand-faced. Sahasra Shirsha Vadana. The Shruti Purusha Sukta says, Purusha is thousand-headed, thousand-eyed, and thousand-footed. Thousand means unlimited. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 13, has the same. Thousand-eyed, Sahasrakshi, thousand-footed, Sahasrapad. The Devi Bhagavata Purana, Book 3, Devi, having thousands of eyes, thousands of hands, thousands of heads, and feet, vividly shines forth. Or, in this, contain the second and the last divisions of the mantra, Panchadashi. The Bhuvanavali indicates the two Bhuvaneshwari Bijas of the mantra, Sahasrakshi, La, and Sahasra, Ha and Sa, mother of all from Brahma to worm. Brahma, a jiva called Hiranyagarbha, who is the gross form of humanity taken collectively. Kita is the small insect, eater of the spider's thread. In the Vidya Shastras, Kita is called Stamba, meaning two kinds of parasitical worms, namely Kakeruka and Makeruka. She who establishes the castes and orders of life. Thus, she becomes the Vedas, which are her own commands, in order to lead the created Jivas into the right path. The Vedas are divided into two parts, Karmakanda and the Brahmakanda, as according to the rule, the Devas and the lower animals have no share in the Karmakanda. The Divine Mother established righteousness, Dharma, through Karmakanda, after dividing men into four castes and four orders. The Kurma Purana, after the praise of Devi by Himavan, says, Devi, the life of the universe, having heard his words, remembering her husband, Shiva, answered her father with a smile. O Lord of mountains, hear from me this doctrine which is supreme, secret, known to Ishvara only, practiced by Brahmavadins alone, describing the means of attaining by meditation, karma yoga, devotion, and wisdom. O Lord of mountains, this is to be attained by these means, not by crores of other actions, karmans. Thus, concluding again, she says in order to describe karma yoga, karman is ordained by the Shrutis and Smritis according to castes and orders. Always perform this karman association with the knowledge of the self for the sake of liberation. Devotion arises from righteousness, dharma. By devotion, the supreme is attained. Dharma means sacrifice, etc., ordained by Shrutis and Smritis. Dharma is not to be otherwise known, because from Vedas alone Dharma came into existence. Hence, the aspirant for liberation should depend on the Vedas, which are my form, for the should sake of Dharma. By command, the divine Brahma, for the sake of protecting Vedas, created Brahmanas at the beginning and established them in their respective duties. The Vedas are the expression of her command. Nijagna Rupanigama. Agnya, command, is ascertained by the knowers of the Vedas through the reflection of the words of the Vedas. What set forth the object to be attained, the means and the practical directions, by giving out the real meaning, meditation and praise. These three belong to the Karmakanda, part of the Vedas. Hence, Jaimini says the words which refer to past things are to be taken with those which refer to action. The Kurma Purana says the ancient and supreme energy called Vedas, which are my commandments, are manifested at the beginning of creation in the form of Rig Yagnu and Saman, or there are 28 Shaiva Tantras beginning with Kamika which follow the Vedas. There are some more scriptures beginning with Kapala, Bhairava, which are opposed to the Vedas. Of these two, which follow the Vedas, are here meant by Nigama, as they sprung from the mouth of Parameshwara. They are said to be the form of my command. Those Kapalika, etc., which sprang from below the navel of Shiva, are opposed to the Vedas. This is explained in the Devi, Bhagavata, and Skanda Puranas. The five Tantras, beginning with Kamika, have sprung from the Sadyojata face of Shiva. The five Tantras, Deepta, etc., from the Vamadeva face. The five Vidya, etc., from the Aghora face. The five Vairochana, etc., from the east face, Tatpurusha, and the eight Tantras, Prodgita, and others from the Ishana face. These have sprung from the upward current and the others from the current below the navel. Giver of results, good and bad, Punya Punya Phalaprada. When the Veda is established in the form of righteousness, through castes and orders, the mother, in order to confirm that establishment, gives the good and bad results arising from the ordained and prohibited actions respectively. The from, ordained, and prohibited respective results of good and bad actions are heaven and hell. The Kurma Purana says, for those who do not perform good are established. These are hells created by Brahma into which, by my command, Yama, the Lord of Death, throws them into. Those who are devoted to me and perform the duty prescribed by the Vedas are, by my command, brought by Indra and others into Swarga and other places. It is said in other works also. Led by Ishvara alone, one goes to heaven or to hell. The Shiva Rahasya says, also, when the sacrifice, sleeps, is finished, you alone remain awake in order to grant the result to the sacrificer. The Shruti also says, for he makes him perform good actions whom he wishes to lead upwards, and he alone makes him whom he wishes to lead downwards perform bad actions. The same is expressed in the Vedanta Sutra, Part 3, verses 2 to 38. From him, the fruit of works for that only is possible as regards partiality and mercilessness of the Lord. The same Vedanta Sutra, Part 2, verses 1 to 34 mention partiality and mercilessness cannot be attributed on account of this regard, merit and demerit. The Saura Samhita says, righteousness and unrighteousness depend on the doer and pursuer their respective results without Mahadeva exercising any influence. This is not so. The verse beginning with rightly solicited till the close of the chapter describing the Antaryami Brahmana residing in all concludes thus: Shiva is to be attained by reasoning supported by the scriptures. Hence, Shiva directly confers the results of righteousness and unrighteousness. The dust of her lotus feet forms the vermilion mark on the parting of the hair on the head of the Vedas, personified as goddesses. Thus, after describing the Karmakanda part as devoted to rites, sacrifices, and other performances, he now sets forth the explanation of the established fact of Brahmakanda. Also, that is, Brahman is Siddhavastu through the mother's command alone. The expression dust means that Vedas are unable to explain the real form of Devi by direct assertions, by complete definition. A rule called Shringarhika describe her by the method of negation, like one ashamed and afraid, standing afar, describing inadequately. That description also creates no clear idea as to this or that. This is explained in our Shivastava, the all-wise scriptures, O Paramashiva, much beloved to you, do not adequately describe you, like a woman silent from shame. If they negative all your attributes by often saying, not this, not that, who else can declare thee to be this or that? Certainly not mere men like myself. The pearl composing nose ring is enclosed in a shell composed of the collected scriptures. The scriptures, when they describe Brahman by positive definition, only prove it by characteristics by the method of the approximation. Arundhati Nyaya. Arundhati is a very small star, and by locating the surrounding big stars, one at last perceives it. Pearl expression indicates her attributes, dharma of creation, etc. The scriptures describe only her nose pearl and other jewels and not her real nature, because the Shruti, Taittiriya Upanishad, says, whence all speech with the mind turns away without being able to reach it. By the previous name, it is indicated that she is to be worshipped by the first three castes. This name indicates that she is to be worshipped by the fourth caste also. For the Rudrayamala says, the abode indicated by the Vedas is also indicated by the scriptures. Hence, all Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are fit to worship.
पुरुषार्थप्रदा पूर्णा भोगिनी भुवनेश्वरी अम्बिकानादिनिधना हरिब्रह्मेन्द्रसेविता.
Granting the objects of men, Purushartha Prada, Artha, the four objects of human desire, the Brahma Purana says, those who worship the Supreme Shakti, whether properly or improperly, are certainly not in samsara but are liberated souls. Hence, no castes conjointly attain prosperity and release without the adoration of Tripura, Devi, or Purusha, Shiva, as the Shruti says, Purusha is Rudra, Artha, liberation, that is the worship of the unconditioned Brahman, and the results thereof depend on Shakti alone. The fullness, Purna, as she is free from the limitations of time, place, and circumstance. The Shruti, Brahmanda Upanishad, says that Brahman is fullness, this is fullness, this fullness proceeds from that fullness. On grasping the fullness of this fullness, the fullness alone remains. Or Purna means the fifth, 10th, 15th Nitya deities, the 14 bright night, also the name of the river. Enjoyer, Bhogini. Bhogini is the name of the female serpent, Nagakanya, ruler of the universe, Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvana, 14 worlds of water, or Bhuvaneshwari is the deity indicated by the syllable Hrim, or she is in the form of Hrim. The Tripura Siddhanta says the great ruler, the wife of Shiva, is called Bhuvaneshwari because she has blessed Bhuvaneshwaranatha, a guru, and because she is highly celebrated in all the worlds. Bhuvaneshwaranandanatha is one of the gurus included under Managavaghu or Bhuvaneshwari. In the chapter Ghata Galayantra or Dakshinamurti Samhita, it is said, O ruler of the Devas, in one syllable there are many worlds, in the syllables Ha, etc., from which are composed the words Hrim, etc. In the Ha, the bija of the syllables of ether, Kailasha, and other regions are established, and describing the origin of each world concluded. Hence, O great ruler, thou art called Bhuvanadhishwari. Again, from the word Ha sprang the ether, from the fourth swara, the air, thus describing the creation of the universe, concludes. Hence, thou art called Bhuvaneshwari. Thus, two explanations are given. The mother, Ambika, the mother of the universe, or Ambika means Bharati, the goddess of speech and earth, or Ambika, the aggregate of Shaktis of Icha, Jnana, and Kriya, which are the forms of Rudrani, or Ambika, means either night or sleep. The Vishwa says Ambika means deceit, perfection, sleep, and night. In the Skanda, in the Navaratra Prapadipa, it is said, night is the great Devi and the day is Shiva. The Harivamsha also says, Maya, the great deceiver, known in the world as sleep. Her body is night which creates darkness and destroys the day, the consumer of half the life of beings in the world. Being terrible, there is none equal to her, except Vishnu, and none among the Devas can control her. The Markandeya Purana also says, I praise the divine sleep of Vishnu, of unequaled power, the ruler of the universe, the supporter of the world, and the cause of preservation and destruction, having neither beginning nor end. Anadinidhana, or according to the system of Vararuchi Nadi or Adi, means 80, that is, Da is 8 and Na or A is 0. Hence, she whose worship delivers the man from the 80 causes of death. These 80 are divided into two, as Pasha and Vadha. This latter is of 28 kinds, as the Vishnu Purana says. The egoism and self conceit are of 28 kinds. The former Pasha is of 52 kinds, as the Linga Purana says. There are 52 Pashas arising from the knot of avidya. Thus, 80 of these, the explanation of the Vada is given in Samkhya Tantra, but disability is of 28 kinds. Requiescence is of 9 kinds. Perfection is of 8 kinds. some sutra. The meaning of these is given in the Karikas. Depravity of the 11 organs, together with injuries of the intellect, are pronounced to be disability, ashakti. The injuries of intellect are 17 by inversion of acquiescence and perfectness. 9 kinds of acquiescence are propounded: 4 internal relating to himself, which is prakriti, nature; upadana, reception; kala, time; and bhagya, luck; and the other 5 perfectnesses are relative to abstinence from enjoyment of the external objects, reasoning, hearing, studying scriptures; the suppression of 3 kinds of pain; acquisition of friends and liberality. These are the 8 kinds of perfection. The above mentioned three, Ashakti, Tushti, and Siddhi, are the first obstacles to perfection. Ashakti means inability of the senses to receive their respective objects, defects caused by blindness, deafness, etc. They are 11 because they are 11 senses. Tushti, elation, is of 2 kinds, internal and external. The internal is of 4 kinds. First, when a man says, I am liberated by the absorption of mind in the eightfold Prakriti. This is called Prakriti elation. The second is when a man says, I have succeeded on merely receiving the robes of an ascetic. This is called Upadana elation. The third is when one says, what is the use of painful meditation? Success will come with time. This is called Kala elation. The last is when one says, success will come by the intervention of God. This is called Bhagya, luck elation. These are all internal because of connection with himself. The external Tushti elation is of 5 kinds corresponding to the 5 kinds of objective senses, namely sound, touch, etc. The faults belonging to each objective sense are the acquiring, keeping, spending, wasting, etc. of earthly wealth. One kind of elation arises when, after observing the disadvantages attached to the gratification of objective senses, he ceases their pursuit. Thus, there are 9 elations. The separate names of each of these from Salila to Uttamba and the names of each Siddhi from Tara and Samudita must be ascertained from proper books. The 8 kinds of Siddhis, Uha, means undertaking the meanings without being taught. Shabda, hearing, understanding the meaning by simply hearing the words. Adhyayana, study, understanding real meaning from the Guru's teaching. The other 3 siddhis are the reverse of the 3 kinds of misery: concerning himself, concerning devas, and concerning the elements. Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, and Adhidaivata. By gaining good friends, he attains Arthasiddhi, and the last elation arises from serving ascetics and the learned. To these 17 there are 17 reversions or oppositions. The names of them are beginning with Asteya and ending with Pramudita, which should be ascertained from the proper books. These 17 are also called incapacity, Ashakti, and the injuries of intellect, Buddhivada. These 17, added to the injuries of 11 senses, they make up 28 Vada.
नारायणी नादरूपा नामरूपविवर्जिता ह्रीङ्कारी ह्रीमती हृद्या हेयोपादेयवर्जिता
Narayani, Narayana, Vishnu or Shiva. The explanations of the word Narayana is given in Manusmriti. The water is called Nara because it emanated from Nara, Brahman, that is his first abode, Ayana. Hence, he is named Narayana. The Brahma Vaivarta Purana also says, because his abode is among men, hence he is called Narayana. The Devi Bhagavata Purana, because Nara means leading, hence the Supreme Self is called Nara. The Bharata, the wise man knows that the Tattvas emanated from Nara, Brahman, and formed the abode. Hence, he is called Narayana. Or because there is no difference between Gauri and Narayana. In the Kurma Purana, Shiva says, I, the Supreme Lord, have divided myself into two forms. One is Narayana, the other is Gauri, the mother of the universe. So my supreme nature is known to neither Narayana or the mother. In Kurma Purana, Shiva says, I am the one, I am Devi and Vishnu. The Devi Purana also says, because she has her abode in the water, not in air, or she has her seat in the ocean, hence she is called Narayani, the creator of Nara, men and women. According to Padma Purana, Narayani is the name of the goddess worshipped in the sacred place Suparshva in the form of sound, Nardarupa. There are 8 notes, varnas, above the bindu of the syllable hrim, etc., such as Ardhachandra, Rodhini, Nada, Nadanta, Shakti, Vyapika, Samana, and Unmani, which are subtle, and most subtle. Of these, the third is Nada. Its nature is described in Mahaswachanda Tantra. Nada, which resembles the filament of the lotus, shining like crores of suns, surrounded by innumerable cities, is above Rodhini. Of above mention, the Supreme Devi, seated on the lap of that Nada, leading upward, should be contemplated, or Nada is simply round, simply sound, transcending name and form, Nama Rupa Vivarchita. There are 5 forms of the universe which appear inextricably intertwined in the knot of spirit and matter. These are analyzed by great men as existence, knowledge, bliss, name, and form. The first 3 belong to Brahman, and the other 2 belong to the world. As the latter 2, name and form, are illusory, she transcends them. The meaning is that, in reality, there is no union between the being and the non-being. The Chandogya Upanishad says, either Brahman separates name and form between them is Brahman, that which remains when these two are eliminated by either, which is the energy of consciousness, Chit Shakti, is Brahman. Thus, in the Saubhagya Bhaskara, composed by Basurananda, ends the fourth kala called Marichi with the third hundred of the names. The fourth hundred, the syllable Hrim, Hrimkari, or Hrim, shame, and Kari, doer. The meaning of Hrim is given in the Swatantra Tantra by Vyakula Kshara verse. The Vyoman Ha indicates the manifestation, Vahini, Ra, involution, I, perfection, and the dot, controlling the 3. The meaning is Hrim, corresponding to creation, preservation, and destruction, with the fourth Kari, doer, or Hrimkara, the Bhuvaneshwari Bija, possessor of Hri, Hrimati, Hri, shame. The Shruti says shame, mind, satisfaction, desire, nourishment. 15th verse divides 38 names. Abiding in the heart, Hridaya. That is in the heart of ascetics, or Hridaya, delightful. She has nothing to regret nor to accept. heyopadeva varjita, because the scriptures which describe the injunction and the prohibition are confined to the ignorant ones.